are these people?
Leaked Israel lobby presentation urges U.S. officials to justify war on Gaza with Hamas rape claims, the Grayzone reports. Yes, this is what's literally happening. All right. And I'm hoping that YouTube's not going to shut us down over this. But this is a legit thing. I'm sure we've heard of this guy. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name is Frank Luntz. Heard of this guy? Anyone heard of this guy?
Nope. Kind of, sort of.
He is a Republican pollster and analyst and advisor to campaigns. Max Blumenthal, Grayzone, Indie Media Award honorees, inaugural class 2022. The Grayzone has obtained slides from a confidential Israel lobby presentation based on data from Republican pollster Frank Luntz. They contain talking points for politicians and public figures seeking to justify Israel's assault on Gaza. Man, you ready for your blood to boil? Because I know we are anti-Zionists in this chat. Two prominent pro-Israel lobby groups are holding private briefings in New York City to coach elected officials and well-known figures on how to influence public opinion in favor of the Israeli military's rampage in Gaza. These PR sessions, convened by the UJA Federation and the Jewish Community Relations Council, rely on data collected by Frank Luntz, a veteran Republican pollster and pundit, who is one of the biggest scumbags, and he's one of the people, I believe he was actually feeding Karl Rove and the Bush administration talking points 25 years ago.
Oh, God.
A source who was present during several meetings provided Luntz's slides to the Grayzone. I love that. Participants were informed that the presentations and data contained in the slides were strictly confidential. Of course. God forbid that any of this actually got out to the public. This is not helpful, Luntz stated in response to an email from the Grayzone requesting his comment on the private meetings. He just had his dirty laundry aired out, and all he could say is, this is not helpful. Not helpful to whom, Frankie boy? The Luntz-tested presentations on the war in Gaza urge politicians to avoid trumpeting America's supposedly shared democratic values with Israel and instead focus on deploying the language of war with Hamas. According to this framing, they must deploy incendiary language painting Hamas as a quote-unquote brutal and savage organization of hate, which has raped women, unquote-unquote, while insisting Israel is engaged in a quote-unquote war for humanity, while they murder thousands of children. So this is the summary page and the things that they should all think and commonly be spewing and the common talking points they should spread across all of their media. This is why you hear on all the Republicans that all end up on the same page. This is one of the guys that puts out the talking points that they all get disseminated. It gets disseminated to all of them. So you have to use this language. We're holding Hamas accountable and crimes against humanity. And you've heard politicians, this is our 9/11 and brutal, savage, and inhumane on October 7th. All of these talking points and all of this specific focus grouped tested language. All right. How did they find this out? And we're going to find out exactly how. On his personal website, Scumbag Luntz markets himself as one of the most honored communications professionals in America today.
Of course he is.
Honored by whom? He has earned a small fortune crafting talking points for Republican Party heavyweights and scandal-stained corporate clients like Enron, the energy company, of course, which famously collapsed after engineering California's energy crisis. Do you remember how they did that? They tried surge pricing on energy.
Vaguely. Okay.
Well, first
that's a bad idea.
They made all kinds of deals, and they said, well, if it's not being used here, we can divert the energy from here to here. And it was a huge problem. There were brownouts all over California. I very distinctly remember this. But following the financial crash of 2008-09, Luntz again advised the GOP on shielding the party's big business donors from scrutiny. At around the same time, he furnished the RGA, the Republican Governors Association, with advice on undermining Occupy Wall Street, the movement demanding accountability for the banking industry's malfeasance. So this guy is basically, okay, you ever seen the movie Thank You for Smoking with Aaron Eckhart, where he plays like the PR spin?
That one.
Oh, it's so good. He plays a PR spin meister who works for the tobacco industry. And William H. It's a star-studded cast, and he basically
I've heard of it.
He basically plays Frank Luntz. He's the PR spin meister that helps the worst people in America spew their bullshit and spin their bullshit and lie to people about what they do.
Gotcha.
Right. The celebrity GOP pollster has moonlighted as a consultant for the Israel lobby, producing a global language dictionary for the now defunct Israel Project in the aftermath of the brutal 2008-09 attack on Gaza known as Operation Cast Lead. In his propaganda handbook, Luntz counseled leaders who are on the front lines of fighting the media war for Israel to shy from debates related to the illegal occupation of Palestine. He tells people to avoid talking about borders in terms of pre or post 1967 because it only serves to remind Americans of Israel's military history, particularly on the left. This does you harm. It started
on October 7th. It for sure started October 7th. Don't believe your lying eyes.
The thing that makes me angriest about all of this is how effective it is and how fucking good he really is at all of this, at convincing people and propagandizing people because of what he does. He literally puts people in a room and focus groups them. Look at him standing among all those child murderers.
Yep.
Hope you're proud, Frankie. Fucker. Luntz's Gaza war presentation puts his poll-tested tactics back in the Israel lobby's hands, urging pro-Israel public figures to stay on the attack with incendiary language and shocking allegations against their enemies. Where have we seen this playbook? Oh, right. They followed it. In one focus group, Luntz asked participants to state which alleged act by Hamas on October 7th bothers you more. After being presented with a laundry list of alleged atrocities, a majority declared that they were most upset by the claim that Hamas raped civilians, 19% more than those who expressed outrage that Hamas supposedly exterminated civilians. Literally, they're focus grouping the word that you're using to describe how people are being killed. What bothers you more? Can you imagine sitting in a room and having a pollster ask you for $100 what bothers you more? Kidnapped or raped? Exterminated or massacred? Like, I want to choke this motherfucker. Data like this apparently influenced, allegedly, lyrically. I'll assassinate him lyrically, as Jesse likes to say. All right. Data like this apparently influenced the Israeli government to launch an obsessive but still unsuccessful campaign to prove that Hamas carried out a sexual assault on a systemic basis on October 7th. Except if you Google it, that's what it looks like still to this day. It was successful in some ways in that they've effectively propagandized the web in a lot of places. Initiated at Israel's United Nations mission in December 2023 with speeches by neoliberal tech oligarch Sheryl Sandberg and former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who's also, by the way, been a recipient of hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations and speaking fees from Israel lobby organizations, but pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Tel Aviv's propaganda blitz has yet to produce a single self-identified victim of sexual assault by Hamas. Let me repeat that line because that seems like it might be vaguely important. Tel Aviv's propaganda blitz has yet to produce a single self-identified victim of sexual assault by Hamas. A March 5th report by UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence Pramila Patton did not contain one direct testimony of sexual assault on October 7th. What's more is that Patton's team said they found no digital evidence specifically depicting acts of sexual violence. How could that possibly be? How could that possibly be?
I wonder.
Because they made it all up. Just like the New York Times reporters. To further the demonization of Palestinians, the Luntz crafted slides advise that Israel's best response is the brainwashed children of Hamas spewing hatred towards Jews, even more than condemning Israelis, with words they don't know the meaning of and can't even pronounce. So basically the most effective thing you can show is Palestinians screaming at Israeli citizens with their arms in the air in Arabic. That's what he's effectively saying. Stereotyping and racism up the fucking wazoo. The portrayal of the youth of Gaza as ignorant tools of Hamas is clearly intended to deflect from Israel's industrial-scale slaughter of some 15,000 children in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, as well as the wounding, orphaning, and starving of countless more in the besieged territory. Right? This is one of the ways that, again, this was Frank Luntz's thing in his slideshow. Brainwashed children of Hamas spewing hate towards Jews, not Israelis, but Jews, even more than condemning Israelis, with words they don't know the meaning of and cannot even pronounce. Make their argument stick. Luntz recommends pro-Israel forces avoid the exterminationist language favored by Israeli officials who have called for example, to erase the population of Gaza, quote unquote, and to instead advocate for an efficient, effective approach to eliminating Hamas. Dude, you're whitewashing mass murder. You motherfucker. At the same time, veteran pollster acknowledges that Republican voters prefer phrases which imply maximalist violence like eradicate and obliterate, while sanitized terms like neutralize appeal more to Democrats. God, I hate this guy as much as I hate Mitch McConnell. He's fed Mitch McConnell with talking points for 25 years. Republican presidential candidates Nikki Haley and Donald Trump have showcased similar focus grouped rhetoric with their calls to finish them and finish the problem in Gaza. So they literally say words to use versus words to lose, and how effective they were at bothering the percentage of the focus group that they were said to.
Yep.
It will end the threat that Hamas poses to both Israeli and Palestinian lives. Except they don't. How about ending the threat that Israel poses to Israeli and Palestinian lives? Specifically Palestinian lives. Israel can but don't say that Israel can locate and return 100 Israeli hostages to safety, because if they can, that means they can also locate all of Hamas, can't they? And they're not.
Yep.
They shouldn't say crush or erase, but they should say to the Republican base, eradicate and obliterate, and to the Democratic base, neutralize and dismantle. And you're literally hearing politicians on both sides of the aisle use this shit because they're all fucking Zionists. In past Israel lobby seminars, Luntz has urged pro-Israel forces to divert from arguments about Israel's military occupation of Palestinian territory by deploying banal slogans like Israelis have a right to defend themselves, not within their own borders from a group of people they are occupying. Absolutely not. You do not. This is about Israelis, Luntz crafted slide declares, not about territory. Right, of course, make it about the people and not make it about the land, because, well, they stole the land. So, or somebody stole the land and they acted like it was gifted to them. Yeah. If I steal somebody's watch and then give it to you you are in possession of a stolen watch, and that person whose watch it is, if he sees his watch on your wrist, he's going to have a problem with that. Yeah. It's literally that fucking simple. According to Scumbag's research, pro-Israel politicians should avoid references to Israel entirely and instead discuss Israelis when setting the context for a debate over the war in Gaza. Except that Israelis, 80%, are behind what's happening in Gaza. Full-throatedly. The recommended tweet...
Full-throatedly, in fact.
The recommended tweet hints at the PR crisis Israel lobby forces have encountered since Israel's military invaded and besieged Gaza, leaving most of its residents homeless, placing its entire public health and sanitation system out of service, and exterminating over 2% of the entire population, according to conservative death toll estimates. And I was going to bring an article in tonight from Ralph Nader that Vanessa Beeley and Sam Husseini had shared that they're estimating the death tolls to be 200,000 plus, which would be like 20% of the overall population, or at least 10. One slide demonstrates that only a small sliver of those polled by Luntz buy into the Israeli government's mantra that Hamas is ISIS. The same visual aid counsels pro-Israel officials to shy away from the phrases genuine accuracy and hard evidence, and allude more generally to the truth when discussing Israel's actions. You know why? Because genuine accuracy and hard evidence are not on Israel's side. Words to lose still exists as a country. They're committed to global peace while they're murdering thousands of people within months. Okay? They're following international law while they're being brought up on charges at the ICJ. Right? So these are the words that they should use, that people seem to feel good about Israel and what Israel and how Israel's murdering people. It's
manufacturing consent.
Luntz acknowledges Israel's mounting PR problems in a slide identifying the most powerful tactics employed by Palestine solidarity activists. Israelis attacking Israel is the second most potential weapon against Israel. The visual display reads beside a photo of a protest by Jewish Voices for Peace, a U.S.-based Jewish organization dedicated to ending Israel's occupation of Palestine, which, by the way, Israel has declared them a hate group. They've declared them Hamas. Okay? What Luntz says is that the most potent tactic in mobilizing opposition to Israel's assault on Gaza is the visual destruction of Gaza and the human toll. This slide inadvertently acknowledges the cruelty of Israel's bombardment of Gaza, displaying a bombed-out apartment building with clearly anguished women and children fleeing in the foreground. But Luntz assures his audience that it looks like a genocide, even though the damage has nothing to do with the definition.
This is what Biden tried to fucking say recently too, where it's like, oh, a genocide, maybe not, but maybe not. Like,
what is a genocide?
Like, that's your
exactly?
Opinion.
Yeah, how do you define the definition? It's very much one of those. But yes, this is crazy. So this, to me, now they had already murdered 75 or close to 100 journalists when they got this PR slide deck. This was in November, I believe it was delivered. But I still think that this was further reinforcement to the Israeli government that they need to start murdering the people that are showing the images of the destruction, unfortunately. You know, stop murdering journalists, Israel. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, I can't believe I even have to say that. But of course, you know, according to this logic, the American public can become more tolerant of copiously documented crimes against humanity if they're simply told not to believe their lying eyes. So here you go. The most potent is the visual destruction of Gaza and the human toll. Basically, what we've been seeing in our Twitter feeds every day for 5.5 months. Okay? and that it looks like a genocide, even though the damage has nothing to do with the definition. No, it is a fucking genocide. Shut up, Frank. God bless this man, Max. He's a good man. Go subscribe to the Grayzone. Support independent media. IndieMediaAwards.substack.com. You can find all their links to all these people. Yeah, here's the Vanessa article that I was going to show, but chose not to in the end. But this is where stop the worsening undercount of Palestinian casualties in Gaza. And again, that was written by Biden advocate Ralph Nader. I can't believe I just used those words. Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. All right, so one more time, I'll put up the donate links. Thank you so much, everyone. We are going to do boats in about 20 minutes or so. Let me just see.
Even we'll be back soon.
Let me see if there is
leak and
bong hit. Yeah,
mission.
A little break. Yeah, if you don't let Israel murder journalists, you're literally Hitler. Liberals and conservatives, probably. That's right. The SMO.